Most people think the world of Hunter x Hunter already feels enormous because of how many countries, hunters, wars, criminal organizations, and insanely powerful characters we've seen throughout the story. The series makes it feel like humanity has already explored a massive world filled with endless danger. However, the truth is far more terrifying. Everything we've seen so far exists inside a place called Lake Mobius. Despite its name, it's not just a normal lake. It's an enormous body of water surrounded by land so vast and dangerous that human civilization's never been able to properly explore it. The entire known human world exists only inside the center of this lake, meaning all the nations, cities, and history we know are basically trapped inside a tiny protected zone. Beyond the shoreline lies the Dark Continent. The Dark Continent isn't like some unexplored wilderness, it's quite literally a death sentence. Humanity has attempted 148 official expeditions into it throughout history. Only 28 people have ever returned alive. Most of those who returned come back completely broken. Some lost their sanity, some contracted flesh-eating diseases, while others were affected by supernatural curses that nearly caused humanity's extinction. Even the strongest hunters in history feared this place. The scariest part is that we've already seen such overpowered villains in the show, such as the Chimera Ants, that it feels impossible that something even more strong and sinister exists. One of the craziest reveals in Hunter x Hunter is the realization that humanity has basically been living inside a cage without knowing it. This completely changes the power scaling of the series because it means that every legendary hunter that has ever existed may actually be insignificant compared to what exists outside the lake. Even Isaac Netero admitted that the Dark Continent wasn't a place where strength alone mattered, because many of the creatures there were simply far beyond human understanding. Some theories suggest that the continent itself is alive and reacts violently to outsiders like an immune system attacking a virus. There may be regions where Nen behaves differently, creatures that can delete memories just by looking at someone, and predators that have evolved specifically to hunt aura users. It's also more likely that the Chimera Ant Queen was only a damaged infant from the shoreline, and that fully grown Chimera Ant colonies deeper within the continent may produce kings far stronger than Meruem. If this theory's true, then the strongest villain in the entire anime was basically just a newborn compared to the real horrors waiting deeper inland. Now, let's talk about some of these horrifying monstrosities that have been brought back after failed expeditions. Pap is considered one of the 5 calamities and may honestly be one of the most disturbing creatures Togashi's ever created because it does a lot more than simply kill people. Pap captures humans and keeps them alive as pets while slowly draining their life force over time. Some survivors described victims smiling despite being completely hollow inside, as if Pap somehow made the humans enjoy or even crave the disturbing process. Pap feeds less on physical energy and more on emotional attachment, which means the longer someone stays near it, the more obsessed they become with serving it willingly. Pap creates entire underground nests filled with humans who've forgotten their own identities after years of exposure. Imagine Gon arriving on the Dark Continent only to discover hunters from previous expeditions still alive after decades, except they no longer remember their own names and violently attack anyone who tries to take them away from Pap. Pap can also imitate dead loved ones using Nen, meaning it can psychologically manipulate victims by appearing as someone they trust. This tactic would totally wreck our beloved main characters. Killua seeing a fake version of Aluka or Gon seeing Kite again would completely break them mentally. The next terrifying calamity connected to the Dark Continent is Zobe, and very little's actually known about it. It's said that it's somewhat similar to a fatal disease, but the symptoms make no sense whatsoever. One infected survivor reportedly remained alive for years without food, water, or proper shelter. His body simply refused to die. But while his physical form survived, his mind completely collapsed. He lost the ability to think, communicate, or function like a human being. One popular theory is that Zobe might not actually be a disease at all. Instead, it's more like an evolutionary process happening in real time, being enforced on humanity by the Dark Continent. It's a means of achieving immortality, the only thing keeping humans from becoming a superior species. Instead of curing death, it removes the natural biological limitations placed on the human body. Humans affected by it no longer feel hunger or exhaustion, and they also stop aging. But in exchange, the human mind begins breaking apart because the brain was never meant to process existence without those limits. This theory becomes even crazier when connected to Don Freaks. Allegedly, Don traveled across the Dark Continent hundreds of years ago and might still be alive. Theories suggest that he discovered a perfected form of Zobei, one which makes humans immortal without sacrificing their sanity. Don also discovered another Dark Continent resource called Nitro Rice, a substance rumored to extend lifespans. He may have evolved it into an entirely different form of life adapted specifically for survival in the Dark Continent ecosystem. It's also believed that Zobei turns infected humans into a singular hive mind. The consciousness of all infected individuals exists together, and their consciousness is preserved forever, which is the true meaning of immortality. Let's talk about Ai next, since many fans strongly believe it's directly connected to Nanika inside Aluka. Ai is described as a gaseous life form associated with granting wishes which have catastrophic consequences, which perfectly matches the way Nanika grants requests while demanding deadly prices afterward. The theory becomes even crazier when you realize Nanika speaks as though it came from somewhere else entirely and refers to itself separately from Aluka. Some fans believe that Ai are not individuals, but fragments of a massive hive organism spread across the Dark Continent like invisible parasites. According to this theory, one fragment attached itself to Aluka during an expedition involving the Zoldyck family. The reason Nanika loves Killua so much may be because Killua was the only person who treated it like a living being rather than a weapon. However, the corruption of the Dark Continent might still be part of Nanika, and she might be slowly learning human emotions in order to manipulate humanity over time after winning them over. Some fans even believe Ai intentionally grants wishes in ways to create maximum emotional dependency so humans continue relying on it. If Gon ever asked Nanika to restore his Nen permanently, the consequences would be massive. It might even open a permanent connection between Lake Mobius and the Dark Continent itself. Next up on the list of calamities is Brion, who looks like a giant head resting on top of plant roots. The terrifying part is that it might actually be a living weapon designed to protect ancient ruins on the Dark Continent. The reason why Brion's face resembles that of a human is because it absorbs the memories and personalities of everyone it kills. Entire forests on the continent may actually be extensions of Brion connected through underground root systems spanning thousands of kilometers. This would mean that every explorer who dies near a Brion colony becomes a part of this massive living network that stores human consciousness. Brion can even imitate voices and memories from absorbed victims in order to lure new prey deeper into the forest. Imagine Leorio hearing Gon calling for help, only to discover that the voice is coming from a tree containing the remains of hunters who died decades ago. The creepiest part is that Brion is able to consume entire civilizations who stumble upon some ancient relic that he's guarding, which means that there are entire forests in the Dark Continent that are actually made up of human bodies. The fifth calamity is Hellbell, a massive two-tailed snake that spreads homicidal impulses to anyone nearby. Instead of simply making humans go crazy aggressive, Hellbell actually amplifies the darkest thoughts already hidden inside people until they completely lose control of themselves. This would make it especially dangerous around Nen users, because Nen becomes stronger through emotions and obsession. Hellbell might actually be the cause of every war that's occurred on the Dark Continent, manipulating humans from the shadows for centuries. Things become creepy when you realize that the Black Whale expedition might already be under Hellbell's influence because the Succession Wars pushed nearly every character toward paranoia, murder, and insanity. Characters like Hisoka, Serednik, and Morena may actually thrive under Hellbell's influence instead of resisting it, which would make them even more dangerous than they already are. Based on the above theory, it's easy to assume that Don Freaks might be actually alive centuries later. Jing believes Don had remained alive in the Dark Continent for over 300 years while continuing to write the West edition of his travel journals. He likely survived by consuming nitro rice, which grants extreme longevity and vitality, but there might be a darker truth lying underneath. What if, after hundreds of years of exploring the Dark Continent, Don realizes that humans are better off staying inside their sanctuary at Lake Mobius? This would explain why the Hunter Association treats expeditions with such extreme caution, because they know that humanity is fundamentally weaker than the creatures outside. Imagine the epic scene when Gon finally meets Don, But instead of exploring the depths of the Dark Continent together, Dawn actually urges Gon to return to Lake Mobius. Instead of becoming a heroic explorer, Dawn might actually become the final guardian standing between humanity and extinction. Do you think Gon or Jing will finally meet him? Let us know in the comments. What if the succession contest in Hunter x Hunter is not truly about being the next king? The entire Black Whale expedition may actually be a brutal selection process designed to identify people capable of surviving the Dark Continent. The ship itself already mirrors the continent's chaos. Every deck is filled with murder, betrayal, psychological warfare, and uncontrollable Nen abilities. Beyond, Netero might have intentionally allowed monsters like Morena and Serednich to remain active because ordinary people would instantly die on the Dark Continent. In reality, traveling to the depths of the Dark Continent might already have exposed the expeditions to deadly infections. Fans believe one of the guardian spirit beasts may secretly be connected to calamities like Eye or Hellbell. If this is true, then humanity is not traveling toward disaster, it's actually bringing disaster back home. I hope you've enjoyed venturing into the creepy depths of the Dark Continent in this video. If you had any thoughts or theories, let us know in the comments below. If you would like to watch similar videos with even crazier theories, click the link on the screens.